Springtime in the Pacific Northwest brings renewal. After months and months of rain and gray, the hillsides of the Columbia River Gorge come alive with blooms of balsamroot and lupins. The sun is shining, birds are singing, and summertime is just around the corner. This is my first spring here in the Northwest since 2022, as I've spent the past few years in New Zealand. And honestly, I forgot how breathtaking this time of year can be. It kind of feels like our reward for suffering through the dark and gloomy winter months that we're famous for in these parts, and it's definitely worth it. I've never walked this trail here in the Memaloose Hills before. It's a quiet area here midweek, which is quite the surprise given I'm only an hour outside of Portland. And it's truly magical up here amidst the wildflowers. Mount Hood pierces the horizon in the distance. It's still very much winter up there. But down here in the hills, it's nearly 70 degrees. Honestly, a perfect day. We have quite the adventure these next few days in the gorge, and I'm excited to have you along for the journey as we explore both Oregon and Washington. Your classic trip down the Columbia River Gorge begins at Vista House, an observatory stationed 700 feet above the river below, and the start of the historic Columbia River Highway, where you'll find countless waterfalls cascading from the mountains above. My first stop was at Latourell Falls, a short walk from the highway that you'd hardly consider a hike. The lush greens of ferns and moss canvas the area around the base of the falls, fed by the constant mist from the waters cascading 250 feet above. The ease of access to beauty here in the gorge is pretty special. A lot of beautiful places in the Pacific Northwest take a considerable amount of physical effort or driving to reach, but the reward to effort ratio here is pretty phenomenal. Taking a drive through the Columbia River Gorge today, it's impossible to miss the scars left behind by the Eagle Creek fire of 2017. Sparked by human carelessness, the fire burned out of control for months, blackening the landscape and closing off trails, some of which remain inaccessible even now. The hike to Elowah Falls is one of those places that carries the weight of that memory. Charred Douglas firs still stand like skeletons over the path, but beneath them, new life is quietly returning. Saplings, ferns, and stubborn shrubs growing in defiance of what once was. It's a sobering walk leading to a waterfall that plunges over 200 feet from McCord Creek into a mossy basin below. Even Multnomah Falls, the most visited natural attraction in the Pacific Northwest, came dangerously close to being lost to the flames. From a distance, the damage is still visible, but the soul of the gorge remains intact, and with time, these forests will continue to heal. I can only hope that future generations will get to experience the same wonder I've found here, in a place that somehow manages to carry both tragedy and beauty in the same breath. Moving along from Multnomah, we arrive at our next waterfall, Wahclella Falls. Likely the most popular waterfall hike in the gorge, the trail here meanders for a mile alongside Panther Creek. It's an easy mile for sure. Like I said before, it's a solid reward for minimal effort. The trail ends at a picturesque view of Wahclella Falls, framed in a beautiful rotunda of moss and rock. This has always been one of my favorite waterfalls here in the gorge. Definitely feels a little bit more magical on a rainy day, but I'll take the sunshine for now. And just down the road from Wahclella Falls is my favorite little roadside stop, Horsetail Falls. This waterfall is literally right on the highway. No hike involved, just a whole lot of beauty. I'm not sure why, but a sunny day like today feels a bit foreign in the gorge. All my memories here are from moody, rainy days, and for it to be 70 degrees and not a cloud in the sky is definitely quite the change. But I'm not complaining, as another evening in the wildflowers is in store. The bloom up here at Rowena Crest was especially magical this afternoon. There's a cobweb of trails here that meander through the meadows and up adjacent hillsides. There's so much to explore, but time always seems to move too quickly when you least want it to. After aimlessly wandering through the hillsides of balsamroot and lupin, I ended up working my way towards the top of Chatfield Hill, hoping for panoramic views of the Columbia River and Mount Hood. And let me tell you, my jaw dropped when I first saw the meadows up here. The hillside was completely covered in a thick blanket of balsamroot and lupin. And at the top of the hill, there were breathtaking views of the gorge, Mount Hood, and even peekaboo views of Washington's forgotten volcano, Mount Adams. It was such a special night as the shadows grew longer and the colors softened. Truly a perfect way to end a storybook day here in the gorge, with some pretty exciting adventures to look forward to tomorrow. Today brings us to the Washington side of the gorge, somewhat unheralded and definitely a bit less developed than the Oregon side, which is where we were yesterday. Washington's side of the gorge offers some hidden gems that, in my opinion, might be even more beautiful than Oregon's popular trails. Things take a little bit longer over here though, so after about an hour's drive this morning to the trailhead, I'm on my way to Falls Creek Falls, a very creatively named waterfall. It was a beautiful morning to be on the trail, with the morning light illuminating the moss hanging from the evergreens. This trail, overhung with deciduous big leaf maples and alders, follows Falls Creek for about 2 miles uphill. It's fairly easy going and a good way to wake up the legs after some long days in the car. And then the roar of pounding water begins to grow from a dull echo to a thundering crescendo as you round the last corner and emerge to the spectacular sight of the falls. Falls Creek cascades from more than 300 feet above in 3 tiers. It's truly a powerful sight and impossible to capture the scale of on camera. Most of these frames were captured at 16 millimeters, the widest lens that I have. I arrived a little early this morning in hopes of timing my visit with the spring sun casting rays through the mist overhead. And I was in luck, as at 10:50 a.m., the sun burst through the trees and the whole scene came to life. It was such a special morning to be out there. Before heading back to Oregon for one last sunset, Washington has one more little surprise in store for us. One of the most unique waterfalls that the Pacific Northwest has to offer, Panther Creek Falls. It's a steep 200-foot drop down to the viewing platform, but the views are so unbelievably worth it. It's truly a sight to be seen. And though it might be too soon, our adventure ends where it began, in the colorful hills above the gorge in the face of 2 volcanoes. Honestly, I was hoping to find a few more wildflower spots to show you all, but it just didn't get any better than this, and I can't complain. Memaloose Hills is so beautiful. Springtime in the Columbia River Gorge is truly magical, and I hope you all get a chance to come out here yourselves at some point. But for now, thank you so much for joining along on this adventure, and I'll see you next time. Where the cold winds are blowing, a place far from home, where the road never dies, and it told me then.
your heart